When you first found out that Anduril was going to be coming here, what was your reaction as far as the impact that you believe this will have on this community?
Well, once we heard that they had officially said yes, it's like, okay, now, just like take a deep breath, and because of the sheer scope and size of the project. And then your mind starts going to, all the different things that need to be done and different multipliers that are out there as we get through to the different, whether it be the schools, the county, and so forth. So excited, all the emotions that you might have, but the impact of this particular development, especially with the defense contracting, defense manufacturing opportunities, I think it's a win-win for the county, and really it's for the whole region. It's not just Pickaway County, but since it's located here, that's quite exciting.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the multipliers.
Yeah,
so
sure.
The impact on you had mentioned schools,
yes.
But I also think infrastructure and safety measures. I mean, those are all things that you have to immediately start thinking about. How are we going to improve these things?
Yeah.
So can we talk about those? Where do things stand right now? Let's start with infrastructure.
Okay, so we have our own county building department, and so all these buildings have to go through building plan review. And then inspections during construction, like any other project, and then ultimately a permit to operate and so forth. So we've already started that. Anduril has had plans to our building department. We're reviewing those on the next building, and also the building that's there now. They're remodeling that, and then actually they've already started on the hangars that they need to build there along the runways in Pickaway County. So that process has started. We're reviewing those, so they can hit the ground running pretty hard this spring. We've actually added a staff person at our building department, and then we've also added capacity for inspections with some other contractors that we can work with. And we're actually putting adding an addition to our building for more office space, because it's not only this project, which is a large one, but we're very busy with other projects as well, and then residential. We do residential inspections, so there's a lot of those. So we've hit the ground running there. We're moving forward on that, and that's kind of the first thing that we really need to get started, because we don't want to hold them up. You want to make sure that they hit their milestones and they're ready to go with their first production.
Certainly.
Yeah.
When it comes to more people moving to this area, whether it's Pickaway or Franklin County, are there plans in the works already for more housing developments? I mean, we saw some what looks like newer housing developments as we came down 23 today, but are there plans for more right now?
Well, there's certainly, so here in Circleville, I know they've got several locations that they're developing into residential, and different types of residential, whether single family or multifamily in apartments. So they're working on those. I think they've got close to 2,400 units that they're working on here. And then you got in the northern part of the county continues to grow in the Commercial Point area and in north of Asheville as well. So there's still in South Bloomfield, there's developments there that are being built. I don't know the exact numbers of residential, but that kind of was already started before this, and now I think you'll see obviously more of that continue to grow as well.
Sure. Any major road changes, like working with ODOT? Obviously, there's so much construction already on 23.
Great question, and one of the big concerns that we have and locals have as well with the increased traffic and so forth. And so we've been doing studies for a while now, and so with this project, every project that we bring into the Rickenbacker area, we do a traffic impact study. So our county engineer, along with ODOT and others, will study that and get detailed direction on what to do. We've got a lot of money coming in through the state for infrastructure with this project, since it's a mega project. So there'll be roads improved and so forth. And we're doing a complete northern Pickaway County study right now with all the transportation, because it affects the whole area, not just right next to the development area. So, and we're still continuing to work with a new bridge and overpass there at 762 and 23, which has been a problem for decades. So we're getting closer and closer to that. I think the expectations there that 28, 29 have construction there. So we're moving forward with that. But yes, that is a big concern, and so we continue to look at those things and make some improvements.
One of the other multipliers, impact on schools. Like we think about the changes that they've had to make in Licking County due to Intel and needing to expand their schools. Is that something that will necessarily be an impact here yet?
Probably not quite yet. Now, Tays Valley, it's in Tays Valley School Districts, and so they have been expanding for probably a decade or better now because of the housing growth. So they're, in fact, I think they have a bond levy coming on here in the spring for some new buildings. So they continue to grow. What we're looking at right now, we've already started the process. Anduril is excited to get started, and so is our local schools, about workforce development. these types of jobs are good paying jobs. Many of them are in the STEM programs with math and engineering and technology and science. And so we have, at the county level, we've been working on workforce development for a couple of decades now. We have a called WSYX, and we have a director and staff there that works with the schools, works with the teachers, works with the students. So we want to develop another pathway for these STEM programs, and we have a STEM director that the county commissioners have hired through extension for the last several years. So Anduril's excited to get started with that, and so are the schools, the joint vocational schools, and so we're continuing to work with that. We've already hit the ground running on that one as well, as we've had discussions, get meetings set up, and Anduril's in part of that as well.
Yeah, that leads me into the jobs factor.
Sure.
So 4,000 direct jobs, obviously a lot of construction jobs too.
Yep.
I think that's the largest single job creation in the state, correct? Yeah,
yes.
That's amazing. What does that mean to Pickaway County to bring so many of those jobs between the construction and then those 4,000 direct jobs that will be here forever?
Yeah, and then you have the indirect jobs that support jobs for businesses for Anduril. So that's estimated to be a few thousand jobs as well. So big undertaking, obviously. Now the 4,000 with Anduril phases in over 10 years. So it'll take 10 years to get that many jobs. But and then the indirect jobs, we're not sure what that looks like yet. They're good paying jobs, good living wages. I think that it'll help keep some of our students here. They can train here, work here, live here, and all that, and that's what we want. So, but yeah, it's a challenge, and but we're excited because it's a diversity of what we have here now. As far as being defense manufacturing, we don't have any of that now, and we have some manufacturing in the Circleville area. So we like the diversity. So folks can, and there'll be multiple jobs within Anduril and others too from different operations.
Will it be I don't know if this is a question that you know the answer, but are you going to be on an assembly line? Like, will this be a job that your everyday Pickaway County resident will be able to attain and get?
Oh, I think so. I mean, from what we know, obviously we get don't know all the ins and outs yet, but there's diversity of jobs within Anduril, whether it's assembly line, where it's engineers, all kinds of things. So I think there'll be diversity there for all ages of workers to attain. Yeah.
Certainly. Land, I think that there's always that people bring up. Okay, like we don't want to get rid of our rural, scope. But you had mentioned, and I think that the governor did too, on that Thursday when this was announced, that this land was already zoned for there to be, infrastructure and built for, or it was not supposed to stay farmland. Yeah.
So back in 2006, we negotiated an agreement and we got that signed. So it's been in effect since that long, and it's a defined area up there. And we have no intentions of going outside of that area. So all the industrial development, warehousing happens within that northern tier across just south of the Franklin County line. And we had an agreement with the City of Columbus to provide the sewer services. Earnhardt Hill provides the water. Columbus signed a 50-year annexation moratorium that they wouldn't annex into Pickaway County. And then through the JED, that established the JED, that we have revenue sharing with the two townships up there, depending on where that project is, Asheville and City of Columbus. So everyone can, get some of that money coming in to improve their infrastructure and for their needs as well. So yeah, it's been about 20 years now that we've done that, and that we defined our areas in the county. So we have some around Circleville as well, and we want to keep the growth in those areas, and that's it. So that would be for industrial, commercial. Residential is different. We really don't have much at the county with residential. That's more your municipalities that handle that. But we have defined those areas because we do want to protect agriculture. I'm a farmer myself, and my sons farm with us, and so we want to protect that. We have an ag committee here within P3 that we're working to protect that, and so we want to protect some of our identities as well. But we also want to provide a good mix of other jobs as well. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the other big factor and something that we had a question about the day that this was announced and that number wasn't quite ready yet was the tax incentives.
Yes.
$450 million, and I think just this week there was that $70 million from that All Ohio Future Fund.
Yes.
So that was granted to them just this week or just recently, and that's for like the taxiways or to improve that.
Well, infrastructure in general.
Okay.
Roads, taxiways,
Gotcha.
sewer, water lines, all those things that need to be extended to that property. So yeah, that's and that's because it's a mega project. That's kind of why the dollar figure is
Certainly,
so high.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
When the normal average Joe sees $450 million in tax breaks, it seems like a lot, right? As a leader of this county, what will you do to ensure that Anduril keeps their end of the bargain?
So the vast majority of that $450 million would be state, and I assume there's some federal incentives too. The locally incentives is a part of that number. One of the things that we require is guarantees from the company. So they have milestones to reach so many jobs and payroll over time. And so we monitor that through our tax incentive review council that we have set up, and because we have this set up now for other businesses as well. So we have clawbacks, and that may not be popular with companies, but if you don't reach your milestones, the taxpayers deserve some of that money back. And that will be on local incentives. I'm not sure what they do at the state level. So we have that in place, and so that assures that they have to reach those, employment numbers, payroll numbers, to justify those tax incentives that they get from the county. The schools have their own school compensation package with the company as well. But we think that's important to protect the taxpayer dollars.
Do you believe that Anduril will meet
absolutely.
those benchmarks?
Yeah, I do. I think that they are ambitious, of course. A lot of jobs there, but we're confident they're going to be a good community participant. They're going to be active in the schools, workforce development, all those things. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, Palmer Luckey seems awesome.
Yes,
I've been following their accounts on social media,
Have you?
and my husband and I just listened to a podcast that he was in. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
A go-getter for
Yeah.
sure. He seems like a good person. And
Yeah.
his partner is from Ohio, right?
Yeah,
his business
exactly.
partner.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple housing questions. I know we talked about adding some more developments, but one thing people say, okay, so if there's going to be more development and more people, that will impact housing, and there's pros and cons, right?
Sure.
To like property taxes. So you can't buy property; it gets really expensive. But when you go to sell, it's obviously good. What's your message to people who live in the area who might be fearful of I live in Newark, and we're dealing with the impact of Intel, right? And it's can't buy a home, but our house has gone up significantly as far as pricing goes.
Yeah.
What would be your message to people who feel a little bit nervous or uneasy about the impact that this will have on their home, on their family, and if they want to move one day?
Yeah. Well, they're all concerns. I feel for the young folks that maybe are just getting married, that are just getting established and wanting to buy a home, and the home prices have been escalating for years here, and now with interest rates that are a little bit higher, it can be a little tougher. I think that's why it's important that we have these good paying jobs that are available, to living wages that help, be able for them to afford these things. And I think it's going to take some patience before we get there, but I think we're in the right direction, and I think it's still a great place to live and raise a family. And so I think we need to continue to come up with creative ideas, maybe to help new home buyers get some kind of maybe a break or something like that, to get incentives to get into a new home and so forth. And so I don't see cost of building materials going down anytime soon and that type of thing. So I think all those things considered, if we didn't have the job opportunities that we have here, I think it would be a little difficult, but I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
So.
And one last thing, it was something that you said to me when we were at the event on Thursday, and it stuck with me. You said, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance here. There's a lot of these big leaders who are here.
Yeah.
But when this all settles down, we'll be here, meaning the commissioners will be here, and that's never going to change.
Yes.
Why is that so important for people in Pickaway County to know that while this is a massive project that's going to have global impacts, you're not going away? And you're going to be making sure that they're held accountable, that our state leaders also hold up their end of the bargain when it comes to this project too.
Yeah, you look at these announcements and you look, okay, you're exactly right. You have the state, the federal situation, but it always comes back to local. And that's why I enjoy what I do and my fellow commissioners do, because we're here every day. We see folks at the stores, wherever we're at, and have to talk to those folks, which is great. And I think that we do a good job. We live here, so we face the same circumstances that everybody else does. And so I think it's important for folks to realize that, once the dust settles, we're here. The schools have to deal with everything, and so the local businesses. And so it's important that we keep an eye on these things. And that's what's important about clawbacks and those types of situations where we can make sure that these companies perform. And so it's, everything's local, just like politics are local, everything's local. And so that's what makes it a great place to live in my mind. And, and so we're so close to Columbus, and so they're part of the team as well, but the real heavy lifting is from the locals. So we want to do our best to protect the local integrity of the area and the folks here. So.